welcome to Chit Chat with Jed & Co, the show where everyone has their say. Today's show comes from Shimla Pink's Indian restaurant in Johnson. And could we please ask if you could subscribe free to our YouTube channel and give us a like. Now I'd like to welcome a young man who's got an absolutely incredible story to tell. Paul Pettigrew, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much, Jed. Glad to be here.
Delighted to have you. Now Paul, we're going to talk about how you chased and lost your dream in football, how you walked blind into a gambling addiction, so much so that you've started an organisation called Gamtalk. Now, Gamtalk's slogan is, "Don't gamble with your future." But before we talk about the future, Paul, let's tell the audience who Paul Pettigrew is and what is your background?
I am 24 and I'm from Port Glasgow, and I had a very normal background. My mum was a nurse, my dad owned a small shop in my area, and 2 older brothers and a wee sister. We're a very tight-knit family and we're still that way today.
What did you want to be when you were growing up? What did you want to be? What did Paul want to be when you were older?
I had one dream when I was young, and it was to be a professional footballer. And I became very dedicated to it from a young age. I knew that I didn't have probably the ability that some of my pals had, but I was very hardworking and very motivated, and it took me probably as far as my ability could in terms of where I went. I ended up playing with Kilmarnock's Youth Academy when I was younger, and then ended up at Morton's Youth Academy as well. Played there until I was about 17, and I was in about the development squad with the former manager, David Hopkin. He was the manager at the time, and after that though, it never worked out, and I was released at the age of 17, just before my 18th birthday.
Yeah, there's a percentage of people who actually make it in the professional game is quite small for the players who come through the academies. Now, how big an impact did being released from football, leaving school round about the same time, have on you, Paul?
Oh, massive. I was lost. I think there were 2 things that I really loved. I loved my time in school. I was confident enough, I was popular, and I liked it. I liked learning as well, and football was my whole life. So I had 2 massive holes in my life that had to be filled with something positive. And as I said, I was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do with life after that. And then obviously I filled it with something positive, and I didn't. Started gambling when I was 18.
How did you start gambling? Again, was it?
I just started gambling in the casino. One of my pals took me up one night. We were ready first before a party, and he just asked, did I want to go? And I didn't even know you got casinos in this country at all. So we went. I went up with £100 and I left with £1,000 that night. And for me at the time, that was a lot of money to have. I was able to help my mum and dad out with a couple of payments that they needed, and I was able to get myself some new clothes and stuff. So very good first experience.
And did you know right away that you had a problem with the gambling? Did it grip you right away, Paul?
It did grip me right away, but as I said, in hindsight, of course, I know now that it was a problem from the beginning, but I didn't realise at the time because I was winning, and I was winning good amounts of money. So I seen it as a very positive thing that had come into my life.
How did it make you feel when you thought to yourself, something's not quite right here?
It was terrifying. I remember, just because I was young and I was probably still quite immature, I didn't know how to handle the situation at all, and I thought I'd be able to deal with it on my own, which is exactly what I tried to do, and that's what led to years of misery. From
that kind of first bet, and how from the start, how long did it take before, in your opinion, did it get out of hand?
I think for me, the handbrake came off right away, and within about 6 months, I was spending more money than I could afford to spend on gambling. I was gambling every single day as well. So very quickly for me, I knew that it was something that I had lost control of.
I'm going to ask you straight, Paul, how bad did it really get?
2 aspects, financially and mentally. Financially, I was in about £30,000 a debt when I was 19, and mentally I was a completely different boy. I went from somebody who was always confident and happy, full of ambition, to somebody who was completely rock bottom. I had lost all my confidence and all my motivation to do anything in life, and every day was about gambling. Gambling had then became a centre of my whole life. And
did you think at that stages when you're looking at you were in the grip of your addiction, did you ever feel yourself, how am I going to beat this?
No, after a couple of unsuccessful attempts to try stop, and it wasn't real attempts, it was I would lose a lot of money and then I would say, right, that's me done, in anger. and then I would gamble the next day. But it got to a point I was just so worn down that I thought I would never get out of my problems at all. And it's quite a sad thing to look back on, being like 21 and thinking that I would never escape my problems.
There's always a way out. There's always help out there. And for yourself personally, how hard was the recovery, Paul?
It was incredibly difficult. It took its toll on me, definitely. I had to go to doctors, and he advised that I cut down from like 7 days a week to 6 to 5 and things like that. But even just in a sense of no gambling for one full day was incredible. I had to have my phone hidden from me so that I couldn't get online, and it was a long process.
Yeah, and fantastic that you've beaten it. But kind of leads me to my next point. What kind of lasting impact do you feel that gambling has had on you?
I feel now that the lasting impacts they've had in terms of like it just completely humbled me as a person. So it's positive in that sense. But even a year after I'd stopped gambling, I still had problems to deal with. I still had a lot of guilt that I had to overcome.
And that's obviously led you to the organisation that is Gamtalk. Amazing. Tell the audience, what is Gamtalk?
Gamtalk is a prevention service that targets young people. So in schools, youth groups and sports clubs, I go in and talk about my own experiences, and it's a full workshop and try educate young people on the dangers of problem gambling so they don't fall into the same problems that I did. Yeah,
it's amazing because I've done my research on it. And do you feel, looking back, Paul, your addiction has led you to Gamtalk? I'm not saying are you glad that it happened, but if it wasn't for you having the problem with the addiction, Gamtalk wouldn't have come about. So in a way, it's given you a platform to help others.
I've always liked to help other people, and I'm relieved at the stage of life that I'm at. But I would never go as far as to say that I'm glad that it happened, because it was some terrible years that I think I'm very lucky I scraped by and I got through. But probably, as I said, I could never say that I'm glad of it because of the impact it had on people round about me.
Yeah, and now you've turned that addiction into positivity. Now, what is your main aims and objectives for Gamtalk going forward?
From day one and for however long I do it, the aim is the same, to always be in as many schools, youth groups and sports clubs as I possibly can be. The more young people I can get in front of and tell my story and relate to, then hopefully the more young people I can help avoid the problems that I did. Yeah,
they say that prevention is better than cure. And how big do you feel Gamtalk can become? Because every time I look on social media, you're there. I've seen you on national television. I see you in the newspapers. But how big do you yourself feel Gamtalk can become, Paul?
I think there's no limit on it, to be honest. There's groups in England that I will be partnering with this year. There's big sports clubs and big professional clubs in the country that I'm talking to right now to partner with to pilot different programmes and just to be in as many schools as I can all across the country is the aim. As I said, as many young people I can get in front of, the better. Yeah, it's
such an amazing, inspiring story. And anybody watching this, you've got to tip your hat to you, Paul, because you have overcome it, but not only for yourself, but you want to help others. And do you feel your experiences through that has made you stronger for the challenges that lie ahead, not only with your addiction, but also the challenges that life throws at you in general?
Definitely, it's character building, and I feel like I'm a much stronger person mentally now than I ever was before. And I think that's very important for people to develop their mental strength, so when tough times come, you're able to deal with them. And I certainly feel that way now. I feel a lot more resilient.
And finally, Paul, what is the dream for Paul Pettigrew and Gamtalk? What does the future hold for you?
For me personally, I'm quite a simple person, just to be happy, stress-free, no gambling, and to hopefully take Gamtalk as far as I possibly can. It's doing well so far and it's building well, and I just want to keep that momentum going.
Paul, you're doing an absolutely amazing job. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you very much for your time. So that is our show for Chit Chat with Jed & Co, the show where everyone has their say, from Shimla Pink's Indian restaurant in Johnston. Thank you very much for watching, and can you please subscribe free to our YouTube channel and give us a like. Thank you.